Chapter 11 of the Alps, the Danube, and the Near East. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Betty B. Motoring through Bohemia. Take a seat with me in one of the automobiles of the State Department of Czechoslovakia for a ride across the fertile plains of Bohemia. It is a big 7-passenger touring car made in Prague, and although it has only 4 cylinders, it can easily make 50 miles an hour. Our Czech chauffeur wants to show that his Praga is the equal of any automobile made in America, and like Jehu, the son of Nimshi, he driveth furiously. We leave the Palace Hotel in the heart of the city, fly down a wide avenue, turn into the busy Graben, the street laid where once was the moat surrounding medieval Prague, and go past the huge Powder Tower. We cross Market Square with its bronze statue of John Hus, and drive over the river Moldau on one of its 7 stone bridges. We pass oil mills, locomotive works, electric lamp factories, and other industrial plants, and soon find ourselves in the country. The straight road is macadamized as smooth as a floor and lined with fruit trees. On both sides and reaching away to the horizon are the vast plains where men and women are harvesting the fat crops. The fields have no fences, there are no haystacks or barns or other buildings on the landscape. The people live in villages of 1.5-story houses, and we run through a town at every few miles. But see, Jan is slowing the automobile. We are at the edge of a village, and there is a great sign by the roadside warning us that we must slow down to 6 kilometers, or about 4 miles an hour. We are surrounded by geese. There are flocks of them everywhere, each herded by a bare-legged girl who looks angrily after the car as we send them flying this way and that. The geese themselves are quite as independent as the citizens of this new republic, and they hiss in shrill protest as we crowd them to the side of the road. Geese are a characteristic feature of every bit of our journey. They are raised by the thousands in Bohemia, and every farm and every house has its flock. They are so big that the portions of goose served in the restaurants look like chops and steaks. We make notes of the village as we go through. It is different from any town of the same size in America. The houses are of 1.5 stories, and their front walls are flush with the street. They are of yellow stucco with red-tiled, overhanging roofs. The doors and the windows are small and are painted pale green. The windows of the attics are hardly bigger than a sheet of notepaper. In this town there are no sidewalks, and the gutter runs right along in front of the doorsteps. Other villages I have seen have somewhat better roadways, but none has any sidewalks to speak of. The gardens and the stables are back of the houses, with manure piles often lying between. The only flowers we see are those in the window boxes. The water supply is chiefly from wells or from the streams where women are kneeling and washing their clothes. In large towns, such as Podebrady, for instance, the water comes from a fountain in the public square, and the servant maids come and dip it out with basins into huge wooden buckets, which they take through the streets on their backs. I photographed a bobbed-haired, blue-eyed girl carrying 5 gallons or more at a load. In the center of the village is the church. It has a great tower with a cross on the top, and there is a clock set into the walls. I venture Bohemia has more town clocks than any other land in Central Europe. Almost every steeple has its cross, and nearly every house has its shrine. There are also crosses out in the country where the people kneel and pray by the side of the road. The Bohemians have always been deeply religious, and until the end of the World War, Roman Catholicism was the faith of the country. Since then, a wave of Protestantism and agnosticism has swept over the land. A new national church, having features of both the Catholic and the Greek Orthodox sects, has many adherents. Now we are again in the country. We pass heavy teams of draft horses hauling loads of 2 or 3 tons. The horses wear high collars trimmed with brass and ending in a leather horn that rises high over the withers. The wagons are like those of Russia and much like the boats in which we haul wood at home. They are high up on wheels, and both single and double teams work with a tongue. When one horse is used, he is hitched to one side of the tongue, and the single tree at the back holds the two tugs. There are many ox carts and wagons drawn by white-faced cattle, and now and then a huge motor truck comes plugging along. I saw one ox cart dragging an airplane on wheels. The lighter traffic is carried by human beings, usually by those of the weaker sex. There are women pushing wheelbarrows of bricks, hay, and grain, and women going along with great baskets of fruit or grass on their backs. I have yet to see in Czechoslovakia a job that is too heavy for the women. There seem to me to be 4 of them for every man in the fields. The women do as much as or more than the men, but their wages of 3 cents an hour are less than those paid to men. There is a nominal 8-hour law for farm labor, but this is arranged so that it means so many thousand hours a year, and the farmers and their helpers can divide it into such periods as they please. The result is that the regular farmhand is bound to put in more than 8 hours in good weather so as to make up for the days of cold and rain. These farm women seem healthy and happy. The young ones are pretty, and with their red kerchiefs, their bright colored waists, their short skirts, and bare legs, they attract the eye. They are as straight as the rake handles they use in the hay fields, and graceful withal. The older women are weather worn, but their exercise keeps down their flesh. In fact, as an anti-fat treatment for our idle, candy-eating American women, I suggest the farm. Every square foot of land here is under cultivation, and the crops are larger on the average than ours. The wheat yield, for instance, is about 27 bushels per acre, and the oats yield 36. The potato crop averages 90 bushels on each of the 1.5 million acres planted to tubers. The corn yield is smaller than ours, but in sugar beets the Czech farmers surpass us, raising more than 9,000 million pounds per annum, or an average of 9 tons per acre. In riding over the country I see no weeds or any fences dividing the fields. The land is farmed scientifically. Every bit of manure is saved. Each of the farms I have visited, small and large, has a cistern under the stable, and the horses, the cattle, and the hogs stand on concrete floors draining into the cisterns, from which the liquid and washings are afterward pumped into tank wagons and spread over the fields. The farmsteads are interesting. Take, for instance, one at Opolani, a village of about 700 people, where I visited the home of my chauffeur's brother. This holding of 150 acres lay on the outskirts of the village and was cut through by a brook. Work was going on in the fields, and the farmer had helping him a half-dozen women who put in 12 hours every day. My guide said that the property had been in the same family for more generations than he could number. There were 2 houses of white stucco, one occupied by my chauffeur's mother and the other by his brother and his family. Adjoining each home, and practically under the same roof with it, were stables filled with cattle, pigs, horses, and goats. Each was floored with concrete and fitted with all arrangements for economical feeding. Between the 2 houses was a large barnyard containing a storehouse for grain. Both houses were clean, and the barnyards looked like tennis courts. We took coffee with Jan's brother in a sort of kitchen and bedroom combined. There was a porcelain stove in the corner, above which I saw this sign in Czech: "Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and the house is saved." The coffee was good, and the cherry shortcake, seeds and all, tasted delicious. During my stay I took pictures of some of the farm girls, among them a sister and a cousin of the owner, who came from the village stream, in which they had been wading while they washed the clothes. Both were good looking, I can assure you. The next farm at which I stopped belonged to the president of the Agrarian Bank in Prague. This farm, situated about 30 miles from the capital, contains 300 or 400 acres. Although it was a beautiful concrete structure of 2 stories, and in all respects a most comfortable home, the house faced the barnyard. Within a few feet of the home were 2 one-story barns, or stables, each 200 feet long. All the buildings were roofed with tiles, and all were of brick covered with stucco. I went through the stables with the owner and looked at the livestock, all of which is kept stabled, for here the grass is cut, chopped fine and fed in the stalls. This farm was especially interesting because it had been bought by the banker as a result of the land reform following the independence of Czechoslovakia. Before the war, a great part of the country was owned by several hundred aristocrats, heirs to large estates handed down from their ancestors who had taken part in putting down the Czech Revolution in 1620. It was in that year that the Czechs were defeated by the Austrians at the Battle of the White Mountain, and the Czechish nobility was practically wiped out. The common people were made serfs, and for a long time the Austrians, with the Hungarians and the Germans who came in to help fight the Czechs, had the best properties, while the original owners had practically no land at all. Some of the German and Austrian nobles had enormous estates. Prince Schwarzenberg, for instance, had about 600,000 acres. Prince Liechtenstein had more than 250,000, and others owned tracts almost as large. These properties were well administered. Their owners took the labor of the peasants, giving them small huts and plots of ground to work for themselves and paying them infinitesimal wages. I have heard that on the estate of a noble relative of a Hungarian minister at Washington, the average peasant received only 30 kronen, or $6 a year. When the new republic was formed, Parliament passed a law authorizing the government to buy these great estates and distribute them more equitably among the people. Some millions of acres will thus ultimately come into the hands of small farmers. On this trip through the country, I visited some of the cooperative institutions to be found all over Bohemia. Some of these are made up of the farmers, some of laboring men, and some of consumers. They are closely allied to the political parties, each association having a party as its special defender. The consumers' cooperative societies have a membership of 127,000 and are doing a business of more than 1,000 million kronen. Czechoslovakia has more than 10,000 cooperative undertakings with above 2 million members. With their families, these people embrace more than half the population. The Czech societies now propose to combine with the cooperative societies of the Balkan states, and the result may be a buying and selling organization of great strength. End of chapter 11.